Hey. All right, this video is designed for Anatomy 202, Chapter 23. And this is all about, it says pregnancy, growth, and development. So this is all about babies, making babies, and babies growing. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first, growth. And we know what growth is. And you want to highlight this. It's an increase in size, and then there should be one more. Development. There we go. So you really want to know all three of these things. Just make sure you got these highlighted. Pregnancy is the presence of a developing offspring in the uterus, as if we didn't know that, right? And a lot of this, especially to those of you who are mothers, you'll already know. Growth, an increase in size. As the embryo gets bigger, the number of cells increase. And then development is the continuous process by which an individual changes from one life phase to another. So make sure you know all three of those. Pregnancy, you got the offspring in the uterus. Growth, increase in size, increase in cell number. The development, the continuous process by which an individual changes as it goes from one lifespan to another, one life phase to another. So all three of those. And then transport of sex cells. So I can actually draw it in here. I'll draw with purple. How about that? Okay, so as the sperm comes up, so just look at the picture, but as the sperm comes up, it goes up. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Okay, here we go. The sperm goes up the vagina. So this was the vagina. And the very ceiling of the vagina, the top of the vagina, the bottom of the uterus is called the cervix. So you see that labeled. So the sperm has to go through the cervix, through the uterus, and then you can see there's two different ways to go. It can go right to the right oviduct or fallopian tube or uterine tube, or it can go left. So it got 50-50 shot here. And so let's say the sperm we'll go right since that's a little bit better, the cross section. Goes right. Now, the egg, which I'll make in yellow. Okay, the egg was it matured here in the ovary, and then it actually ovulated to right there. So there's your egg. It has ovulated. And remember that ovulation means that the egg has gone down into the uterine tube. Okay, and remember, uterine tube, oviduct, fallopian tube all mean the same thing. Okay, so right there, the sperm and the egg join together to make a zygote right there in the fallopian tube. So right there's your zygote. Now, so fertilization, here we go, highlight. Fertilization is the union of the egg and the sperm, and it happens in the uterine tube. Okay, then that has to fall down and actually implant into the uterine wall. So the fertilization happens in the uterine tube, but then implantation happens in the uterus. But you want to know where fertilization, what it is, the union of sperm and egg, and it actually makes a zygote. Right, so that with the sperm and egg join, that's a zygote. And where it happens is the oviducts. All right, this is it, fertilization. Okay, if you have not already watched the additional video in YouTube, it's Fertilization by Nucleus. I have it linked in Blackboard. If you have not already watched that, pause this video, stop it right now, and go and watch that video. It's a great animation of the sperm traveling up to the egg. Okay, so after the sperm goes up the vagina, through the cervix, through the uterus, into the right uterine tube, and it reaches the egg. It's like, oh, here it is. And the egg, hopefully in that video you've seen it, but if the egg is this big, then the sperm is only that big. It's tiny compared to the egg. The sperm is. Okay, so the sperm cell reaches the corona radiate. And so look over to the right and you'll see that is right here. Corona radiate. So that's the outer covering, the outer protection. So if you zoom in and kind of look at this picture over here, you can see the corona radiate around the outside. Then the acrosome, that's the sperm, the tip of the sperm, if you'll remember from last time, the acrosome. So the sperm has a little hard hat on, and you can see it over there on the right, sort of. Yeah, it does say it. Okay, and inside that tip of the hard hat of the sperm is enzymes. And those enzymes allow the sperm to penetrate through the zona pellucida. And so highlight that, that's big. The acrosome releases enzymes that penetrate through the outer covering. So look at the picture over here. The sperm, we'll say, is purple. It already entered here, the corona radiate. That was the first step. Then it's going to go through this lighter purple color, the zona pellucida. And it can only do that because of the enzymes in the acrosome. The head portion of the sperm enters the secondary oocyte. But this is the neatest thing. Because of the enzymes, the egg actually hardens. Because of the enzymes in the acrosome, only one sperm can get in. Only one. And so when that one enters, the zona pellucida actually hardens so that no more can get in. So that's why only one gets in, is because the others are prevented, right? So sperm nucleus enter the oocyte cytoplasm. So it actually comes in. And I will say, a pretty interesting fact, the egg gives the mitochondria and all the extra cytoplasm and all the extra cell stuff. The sperm really only donates the DNA. Right? We hear moms joke about sperm donors all the time, but the sperm actually just gives the DNA. You get the mitochondria and the other organelles from the mother. Okay, so the sperm nucleus enters the egg. The egg now completes its second meiosis, so that's when the second meiosis starts and produces the large egg. Okay, the pronuclei occurs, highlight that. The DNA from both the sperm and the egg unite. They go together. So the pronuclei, they go together. And you got 23 chromosomes from mama and 23 from daddy. And so they've gone together now, right? The baby's DNA is now formed. Okay, so this next question is a doozy. Discuss fertilization from sperm travel from the cervix and egg release from the ovary. Include a summary of stages of development from zygote to gastrula. And so I went ahead and paused the video and wrote this in so you didn't have to wait on me to write it. I'm writing with my index finger, so I'm a little bit slower. Okay, on the left side, this is going to be fertilization, sperm and egg, right? So egg is released from the ovary to the uterine tube, and I just wrote in there LH hormone. That's that luteinizing hormone. That's what makes ovulation occur. So the egg is released, that's ovulation. So write that in. Sperm travels all the way to the uterine tube, fallopian tube, whatever, towards the egg. Now, the acrosome, that's the tip of the sperm, releases enzymes that penetrate the zona pellucida. But when it goes through, the egg hardens, and this egg actually goes through that second meiotic division. So meiosis is not done in females. And so they're holding up there, and we got all the eggs we're going to get. We're not going to make any more, but they're not ready. They're not completely developed until after fertilization. Okay, the pronuclei, that's where the DNA joins together, and that's where you have a zygote. Okay, and then if you look over to the right, those are the stages. So you've got The zygote, that's the sperm and egg together. Now, cleavage, what that is mitosis, really, really fast. Mitosis. And that happens from about day 1 to day 3. So from the book says 30 hours to 3rd day. So into day 1 all the way to day 3. Lots of mitosis. Okay, morula, 3rd to 4th day. The morula, here's what you want to know, is a solid ball. It's not hollow. The blastocyst is hollow. It is a solid ball of identical cells. A solid ball of identical cells. And that's important. Okay, as it starts to do the blastocyte, 5th day through the 2nd week. So we're going to stay in that stage for a little while. But in that one, the cells start to differentiate. And so this one is a solid ball, morula, solid ball, all the cells are identical. On the blastocyst, the cells actually start to differentiate. They start to become and be different. They start to turn on DNA to make them a specific type of cell. The gastrula is the end of the 2nd week. So you're still only, 2 weeks. You can have a baby in your belly for 2 weeks, right? But in the gastrula, that's where the primary germ layers are formed. So you've got the 3 different layers, ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. But really what all that's saying is the cells have specialized. Skin cells are now skin cells. Muscle cells are now muscle cells. They're not, they are identical. You have the same DNA in all of them, like in the morula, but there's certain sets of DNA, the certain genes are turned on here. And so that was the answer to that question. So here's cleavage. That's where the zygote is doing mitosis rapidly. Period of cleavage. The blastomere cells produced as a result of cleavage. So mitosis happening really fast, dividing. Morula, solid ball of cells produced within 3 days. It's about 16 cells. The blastocyte is hollow, and the cells are starting to move around, starting to differentiate. Okay, here you'll see the stages of development. So you see from day 0 to day 4, it doesn't really change in size so much. They look all about the same size. It changes in cell number. So the cells are doing mitosis really fast, dividing. But they're staying about the same size. And now the baby is going to implant. It's going to stick to the uterine wall. Think about the uterine wall like Velcro. And that zygote is going to stick in there. But it's not the zygote. You want to know it's the blastocyte. Nestles into the uterine lining. That is implantation. So highlight all of that. Highlight the next part. When you're about 6 days. So 6 days in. The trophoblast will help form the placenta. The placenta may be in the front or the back or the side. So the placenta chooses where it is. And if it's down near the cervix, it can be dangerous. Trophoblast also secretes, you want to know this, HCG. And HCG is detected in a urine pregnancy test. Write that in. HCG, HCG detected during urine test. And that's my dog over here. I'm at home. Okay, so HCG is detected during that pregnancy test. Okay, so lots you want to know from this side. The blastocyte is what implants on the 6th day. And HCG is detected in pregnancy. So that's what's in, the test from Walmart or Walgreens, whatever. Okay, and there's a summary of all the stages of development. So pause the video, take a look at those. Look at all that. We answered that in that short answer. And here it is in a nice table, all organized for you. Okay, here you'll kind of see the hormone change. So hormone changes during pregnancy. And remember the FSH and LH are not released during pregnancy. But you've got estrogen, progesterone, and HCG. Here you can see hormone changes again. The human chronic gonadotropin is high and then low. And then estrogen and progesterone are up, 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 and away. So there's the three. That's the HCG, human gonadotropin. Human chorionic gonadotropin. But you know those hormones are changing. That's why mama's grumpy when she's pregnant. Okay, so all the hormone changes here. Highlight secretion of HCG is what maintains that the corpus luteum is around the egg, protecting it until the placenta is formed. Corpus luteum secretes, so it makes estrogen and progesterone in addition. Placenta secretes large amounts of estrogen and progesterone. So, honey, those hormones are high. You are not ovulating again. That's what that means. They do stimulate for the uterine wall to increase. It's going to inhibit FSH and LH. Okay, some other hormones. Relaxin from the corpus luteum inhibits contractions. No, not yet. It's not there yet. You got to go to, 40 weeks? So, placental lactogen stimulates the breast development, and that's why it might be sore, may get bigger right off the bat. Aldosterone, highlight that one. That is the one that nobody likes, especially at the end. That is why so much swelling happens. So just water retention, sodium retention. Parathyroid hormone, highlight that one. The parathyroid hormone helps maintain calcium. So it prevents excessive loss of calcium from the mom when you're building the bones for the baby. So maintains calcium. So make sure you know all that we got highlighted there. Okay, so I got it written in here for you. And I chose estrogen and progesterone as one, even though they're really two. I couldn't decide. And so there's my three. Estrogen and progesterone, they inhibit the FSH and LH, and they prevent contractions. They do some other stuff, but I thought that was what was the most important. Parathyroid hormone regulates calcium. HCG maintains that corpus luteum that's around the egg. So maintains it, helping it be big and nice and fluffy. Okay, so there's your embryonic stage. You can kind of see from the picture. That's the parts. But I want to zoom in on the 3 germ layers. And that was where the cells have really started to specialize. So the 3 germ layers are ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. Okay, so let's write that in. Ectoderm. Oh, wrong color. Mesoderm. I guess you wouldn't guess that's the outside and the middle. And then endoderm is the inside, right? Okay, so looking at the picture, the brain and spinal cord are going to be, the picture is labeled, here you go, is ectoderm. The muscles, kidneys, that's mesoderm. And then the endoderm is the innermost part, the intestines. So there they are, ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. That's your 3 germ layers when the cells start to specialize. They actually move. Remember the morula was a solid ball? The gastrula starts to spread out, and that's as the cells start to specialize. Okay, here's just some embryos for you. I thought that was cute. Look how that one on the right looks like an alligator. Okay, here you can see the stages of development, and this is just as cute as pie. You can look at the pictures and tell what all it says. Same thing here, stages of development. Looks like a little alien, doesn't it? Okay, as the amnion develops, it surrounds the embryo and the umbilical cord and begins to form structures in the connecting stalk. Okay, so now we're going to zoom in, talk about the placenta. We know that's how the baby gets its nutrients and food, and we know that it can implant anywhere. Okay, it's formed from the chorion. Placental membrane consists of, so this is what it's got, epithelial wall of an embryonic capillary. You want to know that. The embryos, not that one. Embryonic capillary. Epithelial wall of the chorionic villus, portions of the maternal uterine wall. So highlight that. So pretty important. And we know the placenta is where the nutrients comes in, right? And the oxygen and the water. Okay, consists of embryonic portion and maternal portion. So you can see it over there on the side. A little bit of the babies, a little bit of the mamas. And you'll see it's attached to the umbilical cord. Whoops. Let's go with my yellow highlighter here. It's attached to the umbilical cord. Okay, I also want to point out the embryonic blood vessels. And then I also want to point out the maternal blood vessels there. But you'll notice in the umbilical cord how there's 2 veins and only 1 artery. And that's significant. My sister's second child only had 1 vein and 1 artery. And they thought that he may have kidney damage or kidney, failure to develop. But he's as good as gold. He's 4 now. Okay. Right here, write this in. The placenta, the umbilical cord connects the placenta to the fetus. So the umbilical cord connects the placenta to the fetus. One more time. Umbilical cord connects placenta to the fetus. Okay. At 7 weeks, it actually starts to make its progesterone. Cells of developing adrenal glands use progesterone to produce estrogen. Remember, those are that's the only testosterone that girls have is what's produced in the adrenal glands. And same for boys with estrogen. Estrogen causes changes in the uterus, the breast, metabolism, and the organ development. So it causes all kinds of problems, right? Okay, so discuss the formation of the placenta. Well, we know it's formed from the chorion. Whoops. We'll write formed. Okay, we know that there's embryonic capillaries and maternal capillaries. We also know, add this in, that it's got the umbilical cord attached. Okay, so good deal. Next question. It is an embryo at 8 weeks. It says end of 8 weeks marks the embryonic period. And so this is what we call the fetus. At 8 weeks, it is now an itty-bitty fetus, right? Teratogens. Okay, highlight all of this. Factors that cause congenital malformation during embryonic development. Structures in developing embryo are sensitive to the tetragens at different times. Examples. Okay, this is going to be radiation, infections, chemicals, drugs. So any of those that the baby would be extra sensitive to. And then here is a picture of, is that not the cutest thing? That little baby with that alien head. Begins at 8 weeks, and then from then on, It's not an embryo anymore. It's a fetus, which is, kind of like a teenager to a baby. Okay, development of external reproductive organs. And so you can look at this and kind of see, it's similar at the beginning, and then one side is female and the other side turns out to be male. But look at the similarities and how neat that is. So that's pretty interesting. Take a second to look at that slide. Okay, position of full-term fetus. We know it's heads down. And look at all of this right here for lab. Cervix, uterine wall, placenta, the amniochorionic membrane, umbilical cord, and then last, the amniotic fluid. So take a second to look at those things. Okay, here's some major things. 9 to 12, the ossification, the bones really start to form. And 9 to 12, sex organs start to form. The fetal limb was beginning to move. And then 13 to 16 weeks, body grows and ossification. That's where ossification is the cartilage hardening as it becomes bone. So it's not so squishy anymore. Okay, highlight 17 to 20 weeks. Skin is covered. Lanugo. And then 21 to 38 weeks, you really start to gain a lot of weight and start maybe water retention. But the baby's starting to gain a lot of weight too. So the baby's starting to really get bigger right there at the end. Okay, and here that is in a nice table for you. Okay, talking about blood fetal circulation. The baby, of course, has to get oxygen and nutrients from mama. So oxygen and nutrients diffuse into the bloodstream from the maternal, then into the fetal. Waste has to go the other way. Okay, next slide. Fetal circulation. Okay, this is really cool. So highlight, it says fetal blood has greater oxygen carrying capacity. So I guess because it's young and nice and all fresh, oxygen just want to get on those hemoglobin. Okay, umbilical vein carries, so the vein carries oxygenated blood away from the heart, that sounds right, or away from the baby. Oxygenated blood away from the placenta to the fetus. Enters the liver. So we got all that highlighted. Ductus venosus conducts the other half of the blood to inferior vena cava. So this is really neat, talking about the baby's heart. And so it says the foramen of valve right there in the middle lets blood go from right atrium to left atrium. Some blood from the superior vena cava enters the right ventricle and pulmonary trunk. Most are going to bypass the lungs and go straight in. So only the top two chambers are working. And then the ductus arteriosus conducts some blood from the pulmonary trunk to the aorta. The lungs are bypassed. Okay, for blood from the abdominal aorta branched into the umbilical arteries, carry blood from the internal iliac arteries to the placenta. So carried all in. There's the blood. There the blood is actually reoxygenated. Okay, and here is exactly what I want you to write there. Blood from the abdominal aorta goes into the umbilical arteries. So the red artery inside the umbilical cord. That's going to carry the blood from the internal iliac of the mom, arteries to the placenta. There the blood is reoxygenated. So that's exactly what I want you to know. Okay, so looking at your birth process, factors contributing to pushing that baby out. As birth approaches, progesterone level decreases. So the progesterone actually starts to go down. Prostaglandins, they're kind of like hormones, synthesized, which may initiate labor. Stretching of the uterine tissue stimulates the release of oxytocin. Oxytocin is positive feedback, remember, from the endocrine system, from the pituitary gland, the back part. Oxytocin, highlight that. Oxytocin stimulates uterine contractions. Whoops, there we go. Oxygen stimulates uterine contraction. Fetal head stretches towards the uterus. That is going to be positive feedback. Push and more labor to get the baby on out. Contractions are greater. Contractions and greater release of oxytocin. And you know, when the woman starts to go into labor, the uterine lining is stretched and the vaginal canal is stretched by the nurse working. So with her hand stretches and preps the tunnel for babies. Okay, here this is it in a table. So all that's happening in the cervix and all. Okay, here's your stages of birth. So fetal position before labor, dilation of the cervix. So the cervix starts to open on up. I'm dilated to a 1. I'm dilated to a 2. You'll hear people say that. Then the baby's coming out and the placenta's coming on out. Okay, milk production or other secretions. So placenta, estrogen, and progesterone get those breasts to develop even more. So that's why they get bigger and bigger. Estrogen causes the ductile system, that's your milk, to come on in. Progesterone causes the alveolar glands to develop. Placenta, lactogen also produces. Placental lactogen. Prolactation is about the 5th or 6th week of pregnancy. And then milk production does not begin until after birth. So at the very beginning it's said not to be milk. Okay, here's the release of milk. Myoepithelial cells contract to release milk from the alveolar gland. Okay, there's the mechanisms of breast milk. But really what you want to know is that prolactin happens. Prolactin is breast milk. And really it's positive feedback. The more you breastfeed, the more you're going to make. The more breastfeed, the more you're going to make. Here that is in a nice looking table for you. Okay, the neonatal. That's right after birth, right? There's a neonatal floor at the hospital where the new babies go. So highlight that. Neonatal, birth to only 4 weeks old. So when they're just fresh out of the baby's womb. Okay, and then infancy would be the end of the 4th week to 1 year. Okay, postnatal period. You'll see childhood and adolescence. We know all about that because we've done that. Adulthood, that's where we are now. It's not looking so good, is it? Okay, there that is in a nice looking table for you. Okay, age-related changes. So these are just changes that occur. So take a second, glance over that. Okay, causes of death after, you're grown up and born. Heart disease, stroke, lung infection. And so you can read all those. But it's neat to see the articles that read all about the different causes of death. It's neat to me to see what's the leading cause of death and heart disease is and how you can prevent it. But look, one thing that's interesting to me is, traffic accidents is right on up there at the very top. I don't know why that's surprising because we all drive, but interesting. Okay, there's your, it says leading cause of death in different age groups. So 1 to 44, 45 to 64 is cancer, and then 65 up is heart disease. All right, well, I hope that was helpful for chapter 23. And if you haven't already watched the fertilization video, you got to watch it.